Hello, good evening, and welcome to today's class. Today we'll be starting with HTML, understanding HTML, and also building your first web page. HTML simply stands for Hypertext Markup Language. It is a language that is used to structure content on the web. Okay, think of a web page like a house. So HTML is the structure, CSS is the appearance, how it appears, then JavaScript is the behavior, the lights, the doors, and every other thing that can be automated or could be automated. Example, if I type welcome here and save it, the browser does not really understand, it will display it quite right, but the browser does not know what it is. The browser does not know what this is. In summary, it doesn't know what it represents. But with HTML, the browser knows what is what. That is what HTML does. For example, I type this and I say welcome. The browser knows that this is the main heading of the page. So therefore, to render it as a heading. So use HTML to define the structure of a web page to a browser, that the browser can understand it and properly display it. So how do browsers read HTML? What the browsers do is that they first of all download the HTML file, read through the document, and then build a structure. And this structure it builds is called the DOM, that is the Document Object Model, which will come across again later in the course. And it now displays the content on the page for you to see. It does not see a web page the way humans do. It only sees it, it reads it and interprets it. Let's put it that way. So it sees a structured document. Keep in mind, HTML is not for styling. So it does not add colors. It does not animate anything. It does not describe the layout nor spacing. Those all belong to CSS. I want us to look at a web page like a book that has title, chapters, sections, paragraphs. A web page as well follows a similar structure. A web page has header, it has navigation, it has main content, and it has a footer. So this is how you should see a web page. A book has chapters, sections, and paragraphs, while a web page has header, navigation, has main content, and footer. So you can see the similarity between a book and a web page. A web page has a structure, and what helps us to create this structure, that is HTML. Keep it at the back of your mind that the first page of every website is usually named index.html. The index page is the page that the browser will look for when you enter a website address. That is why I am naming this file index.html. Inside a folder which I have named week 1 HTML. Now, let's look at tags and elements. We have said that HTML is used to create the page. A tag is the markup itself. How do you mark a page up for the web browser to read and interpret? We mark up, or we describe the structure of the web page to the browser using what we call tags. Examples of tags are H1. This is an example of a tag. It comes in pairs, one without a forward slash and another with a forward slash. This one without a forward slash is an opening tag, while the other one with a forward slash is a closing tag. In essence, there are two types of tags here now. An opening tag and a closing tag. An element consists of an opening tag, some content, and a closing tag. Let's make up an element. So let's look at more elements. We have the paragraph element, and then we have already seen the H1 element. This forward slash indicates that this is the end of this element. Let's look at nested elements. Elements can be nested one inside another. Take for example, we have an element with name, tag with name, section. It can contain h1 element, which is a heading. H1 element is the main heading of a page. Okay, let's say about me, and then it can contain some content. It can contain other elements. This section element is containing the h1 element, that is the heading 1 element, and the paragraph element. So this is called nesting. Putting one element inside another is called nesting. Some elements do not contain content, like I mentioned. Examples of such elements are the image element. They are simply as simple and as short as this. These are examples of element. Image, this is break. It creates a break, creates a line break precisely. And this is horizontal rule. It creates a line, a horizontal line across the page. These are called self-closing elements, empty tags, or void elements. Let's look at HTML nesting and hierarchy. HTML follows rules. Not every element can be nested inside other elements. For example, you cannot nest a heading inside a paragraph. You cannot nest a heading inside a paragraph. This is totally wrong. A paragraph element should only contain paragraph content. So the structure I showed you earlier is the best way of nesting elements, where you have h1 and you have a paragraph. This is logical and this is acceptable. This is how you nest elements in HTML. Okay, so a section can contain heading and paragraph, and the browser will see this, and screen readers can understand this relationship between section being a parent element to h1 and paragraph. So let's look at the HTML document anatomy now. First and foremost, let's start from folder structure or folder setup. I have created index.html inside a folder which I named HTML week 1 HTML. It's always good to have your project contained inside a folder, and inside of this you can create other folders like asset, where you have maybe can have your CSS files here inside asset. You can also have let's say your scripts, your JavaScript files. You can have your images. Then let's move this image now to images. So okay, good. So you can structure, you have to organize your files and folders in such a way that logically makes sense and is in a way that is easy to navigate and for you to understand. Okay, so now let's look at the HTML document itself, the index.html, the main structure. Let me give it to us and then explain what this means. We have this. Let me add some extra meta tags there. I'm going to explain this structure, but keep in mind this is the basic structure of an HTML document. This first line here, what does it do? DOCTYPE HTML. This tells the browser that this document uses HTML5, and this is the first line of code you write in your HTML file. This always plays at the top of every HTML document. Okay, now this one here, this is the HTML root element itself. If you are to nest this now, although they're nested already, but if you are to show the structure by tabbing, you see that every other thing here are nested inside HTML. So this is the HTML root element itself. This is the HTML root element itself. So, and what does this mean? This tells the browser that the language is English language, and the screen readers use correct pronunciation when they're pronouncing because they know that this is English language. And search engines understand understand that the content of this page is in English language, and it also improves accessibility. If this page, for example, were in French, this would be FR to show that it is in French. So that is what this line of code does. And then the head element, the starting and closing head element, starting and closing head element, head tags, I meant to say. Starting and closing head tags. This contained information about the page. That's why they are called, most of the elements you find there are called, tags you find there are called meta tags. They contain information about the page. This information is mostly invisible to the users. People visiting the page, and that's why this page still looks very blank. It still looks blank because nothing here is visible on the page, although we have 5 meta tags and 1 element. I said tags and elements because this is an element and the rest are tags because they are void elements. What do they do actually? What is their function? Well, that's what we want to look at now. The title is document. The content of the title is document, and this is displayed. This is what is displayed at the top here of the browser. That is the function of the title element. So let's go back now to the meta tags. The char set. The char set tells the browser that the encoding of content in this page makes use of UTF-8 encoding or UTF-8 characters. What this does is that it allows the browser to display certain characters because the browser knows that these characters are UTF-8 encoded. The next is the viewport. The viewport element is very important. It tells mobile devices that this page is to be displayed using the device width. This name here tells the browser the type of meta tag this is. And in this case, when this page is displayed on the mobile device, it tells the device that display this page using the device width, which is what we have stipulated here. Okay, without it, mobile devices will appear zoomed out. Then the width of the device is not respected. And that zoom is avoided using this initial scale 1.0. The next tag we are having there is the description tag. The description tag provides a summary of the page. It describes the page, provides a summary of the page. Search engines often display this in search results. For example, for this page now, we may decide to have something like my developer portfolio website. Okay, let's say we have this, my developer portfolio website, showcasing projects and skills. The next one is the keywords meta tag. From history, it is known to be used for search engine optimization, although now it is it's not as important as it used to be. And then the last is the author meta tag. This identifies the document's creator, who created the document, this HTML document. Meta tag we have not entered the content for. Let's say we have HTML, we have front end, and we have portfolio. Each keyword is to be separated by a comma. Portfolio. Okay. So that is all about the current elements and tags we have in the head element. Let's edit this. Let's call this developer portfolio. Okay, now let's go back to our browser and see what we have here. Okay, nothing is displayed because nothing is on the page. Remember, the meta tag contain information about the page. Look at the title we added is here now, developer portfolio. Let's go back and continue. This developer portfolio title identifies this page. Okay, now we are done with the head for now. Let's go to the body. Everything that will be visible on this page that is currently blank goes into the body section or into the body element. Everything that will be displayed on the page is to enter into the body element. So let's look at the core. Let's look at the core. Sorry. Let's look at the core content element now. So, what are those elements and tags that will actually be displayed on the page? Those are what we want to look at now. One are headings. And like I mentioned earlier, when you have a heading like this, it tells the browser this is the main heading of the page. Tells the browser this is the main heading of the page. Welcome to Alphitech. You have another heading. That's H2. Let's say this should be a section heading, ideally. And H3 should be a subsection. Okay, subsection. H4 should be a level 4 header. H5 should be a level 5 header. And H6 should be level 6 header. These are the 6 HTML headings available for you to use. So it should follow a logical structure, and that is why I have named the content of this heading, section, subsection, level 4, level 5, level 6. Every page should have one main heading, and you can have as many H2s, H3s, H4, H5, H6 headings as possible. Then we have paragraphs. You can enter paragraph into HTML like this. Okay. So you use paragraphs for blocks of text. You have lists, and there are two types of lists. You have unordered lists and ordered lists. And this is how you denote unordered lists. UL stands for unordered list. And inside of it, there are always list items. You have a list. What are the items on the list? Let's say we have HTML. We have CSS. We have JavaScript. And then we use this when order does not matter. But when you're using order list, it means that there's an order, and order matters. You still have lists like this, create folder, like I mentioned earlier. You have create file. Then you write HTML. So we have an order here, like steps to follow. Then we make use of this list. Next, we look at links. But before then, you see, this is our paragraph. This is our unordered list. This is our ordered list. Now let's look at links. Links. We have two types of links. We have internal links and we have external links. We have external link. Let's start with that. How do we write a link in the first place? We write a link using the anchor element. We write a link using the anchor element with this href. For example, want this user to go to Google. When the person clicks HTTP, clicks this link, we say take the person to google.com. So the person goes to, let's say, visit Google. So this is an external link. It takes the user to a different web page, to a different page on another site. If we want this link to open in another tab, then we have something like this. href. We still have https google.com, and then we say target equal to blank. This way, when person clicks the first visit Google, it attempts to open the page on this same browser tab. But when the user clicks the second visit Google, it opens it on the new tab. So that is the essence of the target attribute there. The essence of this is for it to open it on a blank new page. Then we have the internal type of link. Internal link. And this internal link is something like this, href. This links a text to another page within the same website. For example, say about.html. We want to create a new HTML page called about.html. So this is an internal link. About us. For example, there you have it. About us. Let's look at image. Images. How do we include images? We use the image tag. It's an empty tag. Use the image tag with the following tag. We say source. The source of the image is equal to, remember we created a folder named assets, and inside we have images, and inside images we have image.jpg. So we'll make use of this. We tell it go to assets, and inside asset you will find images, and inside images you will find image.jpg. Fetch it for me. And then the browser does exactly that. And if you're not able to fetch it, what should you do? Display this text inside that this is alternative text. It describes what this image does. This is GitHub logo. This is how you refer to images using what we call relative path. The position of this image relative to the position of this index file is what we have used to target this image in its containing folder. Why does this alt matter? Screen readers read the alt text to people who do not have the time to maybe view the page, maybe people who are visually impaired, and when the image is not able to display on the browser due to one reason or the other, the alternate text is also there to help. So the alternate text should be something descriptive. It's not good to just put something like image there. Just type image. But here, when the screen reader reads to the user, this is GitHub logo. The person understands, okay, this is what this image stands for. This is what this image is doing. But then just put image there. The screen reader will just read it out. Image doesn't make any sense. So now look at inline versus block elements. two types of elements. Something is wrong here. Let's check it out. Okay, we didn't close this. Inline versus block element. So the concept of inline and block element is very, very important when it comes to CSS. A block element starts on a new line. It takes the available width of the page. Whatever is available to read, it takes it. Whatever is left, it takes, and it stacks vertically. So these are the characteristics of block elements. While inline elements learn to share, inline elements share. They flow within text. They do not start new lines, and they only occupy required space. They don't spread out. They're not greedy. So now examples of inline of block elements. First, we have div. We have section. These are all block elements. Of course, a paragraph is a block element. You know what a paragraph does. It takes space left and right, takes the available space, spreads out, and doesn't allow anything on the left or on the right of it. And it starts a new line or on a new line, and each new paragraph starts a new line. We have the headings, for example, the H1. These, all the 6 headings, they're all block elements. Most of the elements you come across will be block elements. How about inline elements? Inline element examples are, we have span, we have the anchor, which we talked about, the link element. And that is why we have 3 links here, and all 3 links are on the same line. But when you had list here, we had another list here, and we had other list here, we had paragraph here, each taking its own line. All the headings we have here, each took their own separate lines because they are block elements. But the links here and even the image you have here are all inline elements. So they do not start on a new line. They take the space available and they flow within the text. Okay, this is to emphasis. This is for italicizing text. This is for making text bold, the strong element. These are all inline elements. Let's look at examples of how this actually look. We have let's have a paragraph here, although we already had one, and we'll say I am learning, and let's put a paragraph here, strong. Let's put a strong learning HTML. So strong is another element nested inside paragraph, and there's a span. Front end engineering. Now I have put 2 different elements inside the paragraph. When I refresh this is what I get. Despite I had entered here, entered here, and entered here, and entered here, they also appear on one line in one paragraph. The strong only made the text here bold, while the span had no effect on front-end engineering. The span helps you to easily work on a snippet of code, but like working using CSS, it doesn't really affect the visual display of the web page unless you are targeting it using CSS. Okay, now so you see that this is a block level element, while the strong and the span remain inside the sentence. Let's look at all these 4 attributes. First, provide additional information about an element. For example, we had a anchor, a link, and we had href, and we said https google.com. This is href here is an attribute. It is providing additional information about this link. It's telling the browser where to direct the user to when the user clicks this link. So the attribute here is this. Let's copy it out. The attribute here is https google.com. So without it, the browser doesn't know where to navigate or to take the user to when the user clicks this link. We had other attributes. We had source in the image. We had alt in the same image tag. And then inside the anchor tag, we also had target. This is an attribute. Inside our head, we had name is an attribute. We had content, an attribute. We had chassis, an attribute, a special kind of attribute. That is that for attributes we have used so far. So now let's look at classes. We have, for example, a div. A div creates a block of code. We have mentioned is like opposite of span. Span existed inside a paragraph here without creating a new line. But div creates a new line, but it do not format the text in any way. Okay, so now a div creates a text. We can put a paragraph just the way we put a paragraph inside a section. And let's say we have I am learning HTML and front end engineering. Oh, we have this. I am learning HTML and front end engineering. It's a block of code. It's just as if only the paragraph is there. But that is not the case, okay? It is not the case because the div is there, is a container that makes it a block of code. If we had several links here and they were all in line, assuming we are to copy this and paste it here, it will still be inline. You now have two inline. But if we paste it inside of a div, for example, it will no longer be inline. To be a block, it will be on a separate line because the div gives it a block attribute or a block characteristics. So that is that. Let's remove this. We don't need it. I just wanted to explain what the div is all about. Now we're talking about class. A class is an attribute. There's a card. Now a class is a reusable label. When you say reusable label or attribute, it means that you can have more than one div or more than one element using the same card name, using the same class name. So it is reusable in that sense. So many elements can share the same class. We can add as many as possible. And another thing you should know is that you can also have as many as you like. For example, I want this particular div to carry two different class names. I say card and I say let's say section. Let's say section for about me. So we have two different class names here. You have card, and then there's a space between separating the two class names. So these are examples of how to use class in our HTML. Next is ID. But before we get to ID, I want you to understand that the reason why we're using class, it is very, very perfect for using CSS styling later on. While an ID should be unique on the page. Okay, just like having a student ID. It's used to target each element or tag uniquely. Let's say section this time around. There's a section for about, for example. I've given it ID name of about. So when the browser says it, or when we see it, we know, okay, this is what this is. Only one section can have this ID. If you make the mistake of assigning this ID to two different sections, it's going to pose a problem later on. Okay, when you click on a link instead of about.html, since it's a section inside this page, we'll put hash about. So when you click that link now, it takes you to this section but in that section now has no content. So that's why it's not navigating. Let's say we have some content here. Let's say this is a card. This is a card. This is a card. And in this section, this is about section. And then let's say we have this. When you click this link, it takes us to the section. This is about section. So this is how you navigate within a page, targeting the ID. So this is one of the uses of the ID. It can be used for navigation. So when you have an ID to refer to or to target an ID, you put the hash, then the ID name. So it takes you to that section that has that name as an ID value, okay? Now, from the beginning of our document, you have core, I mentioned here core content element. I used an opening angle bracket, an exclamation mark, and 2 dashes, and I wrote something. These grayed out right up are called content. They are called, comment, They are called comments. All of these are called comments. So these help us to comment on our codes, and these are usually ignored. These are ignored by the browser. So use them for explaining codes so that in the future you come back to them or someone else visits the code, it will not look so confusing. So we also use them for labeling sections and also to organize our codes generally. Okay, so that is all for today. I hope you enjoyed the class and you follow up on the next video. Thank you.